You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hello folks, and welcome to this special edition of the Wrestling Rewind. My name is Darrow O'Connor, and you are listening to the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans that don't hate wrestling. So obviously we're doing this a couple of weeks out from WrestleMania, and it is WrestleMania themed. However, we want this show and the next show, it's going to be evergreen as such. So if you're listening to this randomly on a Christmas day, or randomly on New Year's, or on Halloween or something, well, I mean, funny enough, Halloween will still be appropriate because who we're talking about, but this is one of the shows that we're trying to do that's a bit more evergreen rather than just being time specific. So, and also because WrestleMania is so crazy this year, it is just before WrestleMania 40, that we kind of just want to hold on to something established that we can kind of cover. And with that said, we're going to cover the streak, Undertaker's WrestleMania streak from 1 to 11, and then from 11 to 21. So, or 12 to 21. That is the goal. That is what we're going to do in this show and the next show. As I said, my name is Darrow O'Connor, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. 1-0, Martin Herty. Everything's Martin.
Oh, yes, Dara. It doesn't matter where you are, in what space or time or dimension, my Undertaker streak is always relevant.
That was surprisingly good.
That I was not expecting that to be that good.
That was surprisingly good.
I was waiting for my voice to crack and break after every single word.
We did not know that. We didn't rehearse that because we don't rehearse the show at all. We barely plan it.
We barely do it.
But wow, that was impressive, Martin. You see, now I know you can do that. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for you.
I'm worried though that might be a spur of the moment one-off thing, that you can never recapture again.
Well, good thing we recorded it.
Yeah, there you go.
The magic of radio.
Yeah, get it on get like a wee record playlist going. Yeah, a wee button, and just whenever you're like, oh, Martin, put out your Paul Bearer, and you just hit play. Then I'll
That's what we'll do.
Have a wee drink.
Spot on. I think we'll have to. But look, so this came up last week. We were kind of joking around as we often do, and on air show planning as the competent professionals that we are. And we're like, yeah, let's do the streak. And the thing about it is, it's like, as I was kind of watching this, or preparing to watch this, really, there was a couple of things that I had to consider. I wasn't really sure. So I don't know how you watch this. I'm going to talk to you this in a second, but a couple of ways you can do this. Obviously, you can go and watch each WrestleMania on the network. You watch it on the video that you watch it on. You can watch it on the DVDs. WWE themselves have released several different versions of this. I think I have two to three different streak documentaries, like DVD box sets and then documentary on it. And then there's also
box sets and documentaries. Do they stop at Brock Lesnar, or do they sort of continue on to the matches he had at WrestleMania?
So here's what's interesting, right? You took the word, you kind of saw where I was going and went there, right? Because that's what I wanted to say. So one came out a couple of years ago. I think the first one, 2000, after Mark Henry, when he started acknowledging, wait, we have a streak here. The first one came out, and I think it was The Undertaker, and it was like blue and all that kind of stuff, right? Then there was like Undertaker documentaries that mentioned the streak, and they were still kind of going up because it was ongoing. They didn't really have an end point. And then there was one in between as well that I do have but haven't actually watched, because it was instantly replaced by Brock breaking the streak, and everybody kind of forgot about it. But because Taker actually retired, Fremantle Media actually sent me out the complete Undertaker WrestleMania collection, right? And this is the last Undertaker DVD that that Fremantle would have actually released before the WWE stopped making DVDs. And it actually has every single WrestleMania match. So they're on different DVDs, and they're actually done like they're little tombstones, which is pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
But it actually has the matches afterwards. So it has the matches with Bray Wyatt, John Cena, and whoever. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull this.
Does it go up as far as the
So I'm looking here, right?
the graveyard or the boneyard match?
It does, yeah. So
Oh, right.
obviously, so all right, on one, so it's how many? It's it's 6 DVDs long, right? So it's on one, the second last DVD, it's Triple H, Punk, and Lesnar, and then on the final DVD, it's Bray Wyatt, Shane McMahon, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and AJ Styles.
Class.
So it actually is, and you know what? It's funny because this has been sitting on my shelf since I got it, and I never actually had an excuse to watch it. So it was
It's one of those things that's really nice to have, but like, when would you ever sit down and decide, oh, I'm going to put this on?
So this came out in 2002. So that's how long it's been sitting on my shelf. And it's plastic. The Fremantle Media sent it out to me, and I just never got around to watch it. I forgot it existed. And by pure chance, as I was going through, I was doing some cleaning, and I was like, oh, this is insane that this is here. Because I was actually looking for the blue one. And I was like, right, I'll have the rest somehow or whatever. I actually went on the network to try and find it. And would you believe the network doesn't have a streak playlist? Isn't that ridiculous?
What?
Yeah, they don't have a streak playlist. If you search Undertaker streak, it's not coming up on the network.
They gave it the Benoit treatment.
Well, no, I don't. Actually, you know what? That could have happened because Brock Lesnar obviously ends the streak.
Oh, yeah. Although I saw that he
Wow.
had not to timestamp our evergreen podcast here, but
Yeah.
I saw that he'd recently been put back on the website. I don't know if that's now. I think people can maybe make more out of that than there actually is to it. But
Well, look again. So when we're recording this, it's during the whole Vince McMahon thing in 2024. So look, we don't know, but at this time, it could even be the fact that the network is probably not going to exist. Well, sorry, it won't exist at the by the end of the year. So it could be that. But all I know is thank you, Fremantle Media, who actually sent this out to me 2 years ago. Really appreciate it because it made this job a lot easier.
belated plug.
Well, yeah, it made this job a lot easier. And if you do want like a DVD box set, this one is obviously the most easy one to have. But I also did on our social media, if you go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com or wrestlingrewind.com, go to our social medias as well, Facebook or Instagram, and you'll actually see that I put up a playlist which has the entire streak condensed down to about an hour and a half. Oh, sorry, 31 minutes, so half an hour. If you really just want to get the pinfalls, as it were, you can on this, and it's pretty interesting. It really
Mostly
is.
tombstones.
It's mostly tombstones and doesn't have Brock Lesnar in it. Removes him completely. Now this was from 4 years ago, so that was removed because obviously the streak was ended after that. So it has the match with Punk.
Well, there's a question. And what do you consider to be the streak? Is the streak 21-0 or is the streak 25-2? Because 25-2, like 25 wins at Mania is still hugely impressive. I think like the only other person, I think the person with the second most wins is Cena, and he has like 12. He is like half of what Taker has.
So on this, there's the streak, which is 21-1, or even I'd say just 21 wins at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I would I would class that.
You're a purist.
That's what I would call the streak. But Undertaker's record at WrestleMania would be
a separate thing.
Yeah, would be a separate thing. And they're both incredibly impressive. But what's funny about this is when you're watching, and the reason why we did this is because one thing we've noticed from doing this podcast, particularly with the Attitude Era, is that Undertaker's career, while very impressive, is so much more impressive in video package form.
Much more.
And it's not a dig. It's like, again, Bray Wyatt is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And that man was a genius.
Not even his career. So see, we were watching this. So I watched the matches for this, and then I went to watch some like best of compilations and stuff like that. And one of the ones I saw did like a video packaged version, like a kind of 2 or 3 minute long version of the Psycho Sid match.
Yes.
And that match is done. And the 3 minute video package they did of it makes it look like the most amazing thing you've ever seen. Like, it's obviously really cool entrances and stuff, and then it just cuts to like the 4 or 5 big moves, and obviously takes out all of Sid's endless rest holds and bear hugs and all that.
But see, that's the thing. I wanted to kind of see if that was the case, because I mean, like Bray Wyatt's career, particularly, you know, when you look at it, it's a series of misses. But what's going to happen is eventually they're going to edit that into like the greatest video package ever, and it will be literally the exact same with the Undertaker, but over a longer period of time. So we're further away from Undertaker's poor performances or subpar performances at WrestleMania than we are near them, because it's funny because the second part of the streak, like that middle section, actually is unbelievable. Has some of the best matches you will ever see anywhere at a WrestleMania or in WWE.
And even some of the earlier matches, like they're hindered by the character he's doing. You know, the slow, methodical, like very deliberate version of the Undertaker.
But also who he's in there with. Who's in there with. Like he's in the, particularly in the early days, and even, you know, we're ending this at WrestleMania 19, and that's
just spoiler, folks. It doesn't end on a hay.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. But there are a lot of cases in point here with the streak. It depended on a couple. And just to get this out before it goes, it depended on two things. One, yes, the character he was portraying at the time plays into it. 2, who he was with, and then 3, what kind of match it was. If it's like a mid-tier match, it's hampered by the fact that it's a mid-tier match. If it's a main event, it can be hampered that it's a main event, but very often the stars really need to align here, because like it's another thing it's important to remember that they didn't even realize this was a thing until he defeated Mark Henry.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we have the streak.
There's mentions during it, I think, even by win number 4, you'll hear McMahon during the match say things like Undertaker has never been defeated at WrestleMania, but there's no like direct mention of the streak or like this is a particular kind of record that he holds.
Randy Orton was the first person. Since 2005, I was off a year. And yeah, that's when that DVD came out. So it was the first time being challenged for the streak. The first time that the streak was acknowledged was WrestleMania X8.
Yeah, where it became like a point of pride, like a real like distinguished thing that you would try and challenge for.
Sure, it became like I was watching a thing on YouTube. It was some guy just talking about it, and he was like, "It's actually quite good." I'll try finding a link to it. He was saying that like as a kid when he was watching it, because he's a bit younger than us, so he was like 8 or something during 2008 when the streak was like the thing to see, you know, like Batista, like 2007 with Batista, where that's when Undertaker really started cooking. He really like hit his stride, and the matches became something you actually wanted to watch, rather than some of these matches which are actually a struggle. But here's the funny part, right? So we're going to talk about these matches, and look, not all of them are bad. A lot of them are, but it's funny that the streak
and some of
itself
them,
is
some of the
greater than
early
some of the
ones, while not being great, kind of benefit from only being basically glorified squashes, kind of 4 or 5
they're
minutes
like
long.
4 or 5 minutes long, yeah. So look, let's start there, right? So the first match, and again, there's, if you just want to skip through and not watch these, chronologically, there is a WWE playlist of them all. Actually, Martin, before we get into it, how did you watch these? What was
I
your choice?
watched them individually, just on different. Like a lot of these are on YouTube, and
Okay.
then some of them are on different websites, and I just put them in that way. I don't have the the network anymore.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
But they're all like particular. It might get a wee bit more difficult getting towards the latter half, but most of these matches, like the first 10 or 12, they're all pretty much on YouTube. In fact, WWE themselves have most of them up on their YouTube page, so you can just Google them and watch them in like proper high definition.
Yeah, and as I said, they have like a playlist that's been curated for you. But okay, Jimmy Snuka. So the first match was in 1991, WrestleMania 7. Look, I know it's funny. The WrestleMania convention where they do Roman numerals for most of them, and then randomly just don't. So that was fun. For some reason, WrestleMania 29 and 25 don't get. But
Wasn't that a Vince thing? At one stage, he hated them being numbered because he thought it made them seem old.
I don't know. Some of them just don't. Like, there's like, I actually kind of like the X7 and X8. I thought that was kind of fun. But like WrestleMania 21, 22, 23, 25, 29, it doesn't look right.
And then WrestleMania 2000.
It just doesn't. It just funny because WrestleMania 2000 isn't on this. It isn't on this because he wasn't there.
He missed it, and the only other one he missed was WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, so because I remember being a kid and being like, oh, there's no Undertaker, but it wasn't really a big deal because the Undertaker was just not even relevant at that point. Because 1999, not to go on the whole thing, but 1999 was Undertaker's low point, where he was actually thinking about jumping to WCW to do the biker character.
That's mad. I only recently found that out.
And that's why Vince was like, no, come back and be the biker character. So that's why we got the American Badass. So we could have got the American Badass Mark Calloway.
Oh, how do you think that would have went? I mean, like, we know how it would have went.
Probably would have went.
WCW
Probably would have went as well as the rated R superstar Adam Copeland. Just not the same.
Oh well, I don't know.
Or if that's too raw, the Punisher Andrew Martin.
I think Bret is probably a more apt.
Because Bret Hart is still Bret Hart. You're taking the man's gimmick from him. He can't do the Undertaker. He can't be called the Undertaker.
But even at that, like they wouldn't have known what to do with him. They would.
Yeah, that's true too.
Although to be fair, maybe given his size, and he gets on quite well with Kevin Nash, maybe he would have been brought in as like one of the big men, one of the top guys, and given loads of like booking power and all sorts of stuff.
No, still. Look, we've watched WCW in 2000. You're swimming uphill at this point.
Where there's just no righting the ship.
No, there's not. It was anyway, but that is an interesting like tidbit to know that after WrestleMania in 1999, that could have been the last time we ever saw the Undertaker. So that's interesting, given what happened and how poor it was. So look, Jimmy Snuka, the first appearance of Undertaker at WrestleMania was at 1991. So, relatively quick, really. Undertaker was featured in such a prominent role. And it's funny because the crowd is, they don't really care. There's lots of empty seats, which is genuinely hilarious when you think about it. It's a WrestleMania. There's empty seats and it's the Undertaker and nobody cares. This match was about 4 minutes. It was very poor. Snuka was well past it at this point.
Yeah, this isn't like, I know this is 91, but even in 91, this isn't Snuka of yore. Like To be honest, I thought it was okay. I thought it was slow, obviously, because Snuka's not at his peak, and Taker's doing this this version of the Undertaker that was a very slow, kind of almost undead like character. He would walk really slowly, methodically around the ring. But look, the match was 4 minutes long. The early Undertaker entrances, even though they don't have like all the kind of pomp and circumstance that will come with the entrances later on, like I thought there was something really kind of stripped back and a little bit terrifying about them. I really liked those early Undertaker entrances, and the tombstone he finishes them off with. I don't know if he was still, fiddling around with it, still trying to get the technique right, but oh my god, this tombstone is terrifying.
It actually looked like it did finish him. That's the thing. It looked like that was it. He legitimately wasn't get backed up because he was spiked.
Like he's sending Snuka off to meet his wife.
Oh god!
No, it looked like he dunked him right on his head, and then to be fair to Snuka, he sold it really well. He did that thing where like one leg was like spasming. Bryan Danielson does it sometimes, and I had to tell him, please stop doing that. We don't know if you're injured or not. So look, this, when you think of the Undertaker streak, this isn't going to be, in anyone's top 5, top 10 list, but I thought it was a pretty decent introduction to the character.
Absolutely. The next match and the next WrestleMania was in Indianapolis, Indiana, against Jake the Snake Roberts. Now look, this was a much better. It looked like a WrestleMania. It didn't look like a weird house show. It was obviously much more elaborate. It had a crowd, which was nice. And the match itself was a lot better. Taker was moving around a lot quicker because obviously he's in there with Jake. Jake was still a fair bit younger. Tombstone on the outside, which is wild. And yeah, I actually really like this Undertaker. He's still slow and methodical, but he's so dominating with this as well. Like the end of this match, it's Tombstone and then another Tombstone. The Tombstone on the outside and then pulls him in, and that's it. Like he beat him so conclusively that the outside Tombstone finished it. And obviously the streak would develop where it'd be multiple tombstones and kick out finishes and stuff. But this really got Taker over as he will do anything to win, even if it is something outside and then beating legends as well. So again, a squash match, about 7 minutes. He's still really obsessed with that urn though, which is weird. Because I'm glad they moved away from that. In hindsight, it's very, very bizarre. But we see a marked change at this point because between this WrestleMania and the next year, where it's the Caesar Palace one, and it's John Gonzalez, right? There is like a change in it. Undertaker's character is a little bit different. He had a really cool. He had that really cool entrance. With the Hawk and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only good points I can say about this next match. Caesar's Palace. The
Jake Snake Roberts one was good for it had a couple of really strong points to it. Like very few of them the actual match. The match was good, but it was fairly basic. But the build of this was incredible. Like obviously Jake's one of the best promos ever. You have this terrifying Undertaker character and then this real menacing Jake the Snake character. So I thought the build of it was great. He traps the Undertaker's arm in like the lid of a coffin and batters him and Paul Bearer with a chair. The other thing I thought was notable about this was the Undertaker sitting up out of 2 DDTs.
Yes.
And this was 92. Like they were still selling the DDT as a match ender, borderline career ender in 92. So to have Undertaker not even kick out, to sit up out of 2 of them, kind of really showed what they thought of this character and where they saw him going.
Absolutely. So look, the next one is Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. WrestleMania 9, 1993. So I actually did some digging in on this one. There's certain people Taker wanted to work with, and he tried to work with, and he was put in with Giant Gonzalez, and he said that this is one of his biggest career disappointments, and he said this took years off his career mentally because of how devastating it was to not be included with Bret Hart and Owen Hart and the rest of the lads having these blinder matches, and him having to work with Giant Gonzalez and just not enjoying it. So this took years off his career in that sense. And look, what's funny about this is, so obviously I watched it on the DVD collection, but then I watched it on the playlist just to kind of see what was on it. They don't show the actual match. They pick it up from on the playlist. They actually pick it up from when he's been carted off and comes back. So when you're watching, you're like, what happened? They don't actually mention, because obviously, so how Undertaker wins, he doesn't win. He gets disqualified because John Gonzalez uses chloroform and knocks him out.
And what I loved was so John Gonzalez, his is it Harvey Whippleman is his manager, jumps up on the ring and hands him this rag, and Gonzalez stuffs the rag in the Undertaker's face, and the announcers who remember the setup, that awesome Caesar's Palace, one of the worst WrestleManias, but one of the best setups.
Oh, for
sure. The announcers are almost back in the crowd.
Yeah.
And your man pulls the rag out, and straight away the announcer's like, "Oh my God, is that chloroform?" It's like, what sense of smell do you have? You're picking that up instantly from 30 yards away.
But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that instead of even showing the match or any setup to what happens, it's literally just the Undertaker walking out after the match. And I watched it again to be like, oh, that's what they did. Because this was your introduction to this match. It kind of speaks volumes. The actual match itself was nearly 8 minutes, and it's so bad WWE don't even show it.
It feels like 20 minutes. Now, what I will say, as you mentioned earlier, ironically, one of the best WrestleMania sets ever, but one of the worst WrestleManias. One of the Undertaker's worst matches, but one of his best entrances ever. Oh,
absolutely. It's so good.
Even though it's in broad daylight, they kind of fill the entranceway with black smoke, and then he comes out in this chariot with the black vulture on a stand beside him, and it's awesome. But
what's great about it is I think it's because they're in Nevada. It feels like they're in the desert, this surreal thing, and it just shows you that they can. It's funny, it's like the opposite of you go see a black metal band play. Never go see a black metal band play in the daytime. It's very silly. If they're outside and in the daytime, it's the silliest thing in the world. It really is. You can look up Dimmu Borgir back in 2005 during the day or something. It's broad daylight and they look ridiculous. And that can kind of happen with the Undertaker, but it really speaks to the Undertaker's character at this point that he was able to make that work. And it's very eerie, but it's a shame that it leads to the match so bad again that WWE don't even
and we
show
should
it.
say the oftentimes when a match doesn't work out, there's kind of blame on all sides. This is 100% on Gonzalez. The dude he's impressively huge. He legitimately makes the Undertaker look small, but he's too big to function as a human. His arms and legs are so long and gangly, it's he doesn't know how to use them.
But that's why they put the bodysuit on him, so he looks more.
What is up with the bodysuit?
Well, no, because his physique was weird looking, and it makes him look more proportionate. That's why.
Okay, right,
again,
fine.
That's not my words. That's
right.
What Vince said.
No, that's fine. Okay, because there's a couple of things then I'd like to ask Vince about this, and if we had Vince in the room, it would be well down the list of what I'd ask him. But we would get to this eventually. Firstly, the bodysuit, fine. Yeah, okay, yeah. He didn't have a great physique, and it's out in the direct Nevada sunlight, and you wanted something else. Grand. Did you have to paint an arse crack on the bodysuit?
Well,
would it not have been all right without that?
Yeah, I did think that was weird too. Maybe give him some like, or even just put like a singlet and some like tights or something.
Yeah. Did you have to do the full treasure trail? Like,
Look, it's the 90s, man. I don't know.
the other thing I don't get about this is, right, I get that you want to keep like two kind of monsters strong, but it's obvious that they favor Taker here. He's the one with the longevity. He's the one who can actually, walk like a functioning human. So I don't understand this ending. So they do the chloroform. He knocks Taker out. But then Taker is declared the winner via disqualification. Like, that's not this all-conquering streak. And then Taker comes running back out anyway and beats up Gonzalez anyway.
No, a disqualification win is still a disqualification win.
Yeah, but it's not what you think of when you think of this all-conquering streak. It's like,
no, well, there's no title on the line here, so it
yeah, but it's like someone keeping the belt by rolling out of the ring and taking a count-out loss or whatever.
The old Edge Christian special.
But so I don't get the booking here. I mean, why not just put Taker over?
Because they paint themselves into a corner.
I mean, like,
that's what happened.
Because nobody came out of this looking good. Taker didn't come out of this looking good, and Gonzalez didn't come out of this looking good. If you want to push Gonzalez as a monster, push Gonzalez over. If you want to push Taker as a monster killer, put Taker over. But this did nothing for anybody. Well,
it's 4-0. 3-0.
It goes to show like how baffling the booking is that it was 1993. I was 6 years old and I'm still annoyed about it.
The next match was markedly better, though, to be fair. It was about 7 minutes against King Kong Bundy. Now, again, King Kong Bundy was well past that at this point. He looks very like Butterbean, which is very distracting. But Taker actually got to go in this match. This is the first match that he actually got to like do things.
Yeah, this is like it's really interesting actually watching the streak like this, because you get to see the evolution of the Undertaker character in like kind of measurable leaps. So it's not like a big leap, like 1 year he's dead man and the next thing he's the American Badass. You get to see that kind of incremental change to the character. And like that's as much in the in-ring style as it is in like his presentation or his what he wears or his music or anything like that.
Were you surprised at the finish?
Yeah, I mean, I get that you couldn't get Bundy up for a tombstone. I get that would be a danger to everyone involved, perhaps everyone in attendance. That would be a danger to. But I mean, finishing him with a clothesline. I was like, lads, you can come up with something better than that.
No, look, what did it for me was it's a clothesline, right? So it's a flying clothesline. It goes off and does this flying clothesline, which, to be fair, is one of the coolest Undertaker moments.
He gets some hate.
But Bundy is down and then he's right out of the ring. So he doesn't even sell it.
That was the other thing I had in my notes here. Yeah, very, very cheeky little kick out from Bundy. That is, I mean, if I was the ref, I'd have said his shoulder was up there.
So would I have, yeah.
By the time the third hand came down.
It's the old Jeff Hardy special.
Yeah, the old Hulk Hogan. The other thing about this is, you're talking earlier about how you have kind of conflicted views on the urn. The urn is a big part of this storyline. So this is all about the Ted DiBiase's $1 million faction.
Yes.
And they are feuding with the Undertaker. They have stolen the urn. But at one stage, Kama comes out and steals the urn, and he's going to melt it down into a gold chain, which is a really cool thing that they do later on. But Kama, it only kind of hit me when I was watching it, is not only Papa Shango, but also the Godfather.
Yes.
And the Good Father.
Yes. And a member of the True Life crew.
He's a man of many talents. But yeah, look, these early Undertaker matches, they're not so much about the in-ring. It's all to do with the aura, with the presentation, with the storyline. And like I said, even though they're not great, you're talking 4 or 5 minutes on average. Like, this was even given how bad some of them were, it's been a pretty easy watch so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're over the worst of it. It's just more kind of like puzzling at this point. Like the next match is actually surprisingly good. Well, I mean, surprising in the sense that like Kevin Nash is soon to be done with WWE, but him and Taker are actually mates, so it makes sense that Nash put him over so conclusively, and like it's also like one of the longest ones so far. So it's about 17 minutes, and it's the first match at WrestleMania 12 in 1996 from California that actually feels like a streak match.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I mean, Kevin Nash is very hit and miss, genuinely. Diesel's even more hit and miss. But him and Taker, it's a shame that they didn't interact much more and that Nash left to WCW. Because this is probably the best I've ever seen Kevin Nash.
Yeah, it goes to
which is
show
wild.
Nash, like, what you got out of Nash really depended on how he was feeling that day.
Yeah, really.
Like, if he
it really did, yeah.
if he was like a proper professional, he could probably have a really great legacy of excellent matches.
But
it just
he didn't want to.
Seems like most of the time he just didn't want to. I thought that this match was really good.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. This is one of my little sleeper matches now that I wasn't really aware of.
Yeah.
And I actually really like this match, yeah.
When this came on, so it's starting, and I'm like, oh God, early Undertaker against Diesel. And I looked it up on Thingy, and it says 16 minutes, 46 seconds. I was like, oh, this is going to be rough to get through. And like 3 or 4 minutes into it, I was like, damn, they're really landing those shots in. This feels like two huge gays really colliding here. Also, we're getting to see some of the WWF's like really starting to perfect its production style. We're getting a lot of really cool shots kind of over Taker's shoulder, down at Nash, or from behind Nash while Taker's doing his like arm raise and stuff and all that in the ring. There was a slight lag in the middle of this. A couple of rest holds, couple of kick punch walking around and that. But see this match, see if you shaved, literally just 3 or 4 minutes off it. I think you'd be looking at a stone cold classic here. Not to mention as well the frankly terrifying sight of a Taker getting hit with 2 jackknife power bombs. Like that jackknife of Nash's is scary enough on its own, but when you're someone who says a Taker.
But it just shows you how committed they both were.
Oh yeah.
To it. You know?
No, this is a great match. I loved some of the kind of horror movie hints that they put in it, like
yes.
Whenever Nash thinks he has him down, and every time he goes to pin him, Taker sits up and grabs him by the throat, and then he batters him down, and then he sits up. Like, do you know when at the end of a horror movie when you think the bad guy's dead, and then he jumps up one last time, and they have to shoot him 40 times? And
but no, it's the first time that it kind of justified being a match at WrestleMania. It's kind of a hint of what these matches could be. But it's funny, literally within a year it goes to mean garbage again. But I will have to say it's one of only 2 world title matches in the streak, which is also something very interesting, because I thought there were a few more, but no, literally it's just 3, but like 3 out of 21. And it's the only WWF championship match. The world title was defended twice, but it's belts. This streak is actually so much beyond the belt that you kind of forget about it.
Oh yeah, even outside the streak, Taker as a character, like I could see why they had him win it a couple of times. Just he had to, like, you couldn't have this unstoppable force who, for some reason, never wins the title. But it's just not something he or his character ever really needed.
Yeah, the belt just kind of... It's the same thing with Bray Wyatt, though, when he won it. It just appeared. It was just a natural... It
almost looks awkward on him. Because it's like, well, why does this, kind of spooky dead man, why does he care about winning titles? Like,
I have to say the Windy, and we used it as the promo shot for these series of shows. The actual Windy Eagle belt, which I'm not a huge fan of. I know some people love it, but I like it. But it's not my favorite one. It actually suits Taker really, really well. But I thought when the world champ,
I think it's my favorite.
Oh, that's fair. See, I really like the one after it because it's Triple H's one.
See, the Winged Eagle to me is Bret Hart's.
That's fair, genuinely fair.
But
And Austin also had the other one as well. So
I think we can both agree that whatever the belt in this era, they all look better than the big W that the branded trademark logos that we've. I think they're horrendous.
Yeah, but I mean they're better than the spinner. So come on, you have to draw the line somewhere.
You can't bring the spinner into every argument. That's the nuclear bomb you drop on every.
No, I'm just saying.
Obviously, it's better than the spinner.
No, I'm just saying. When that spinner went, it was the greatest thing that ever happened. So
I just think that they still looked like championship, fighting championship titles.
Absolutely,
rather than just corporate logos.
No, absolutely. But yeah, I think this match was atrocious, but Taker winning was a cool look at the end. It was a nice way to really cap off that run that Taker was on, and it also marked a transition point as well, because we'd be into the Attitude Era after this. Like, there was Taker winning the belt, and then the next appearance, Kane had showed up. We had the Hell in a Cell match, blah blah blah, and we were actually fully in the Attitude Era. So the next one, Kane.
So there's just before that, there's this match is largely terrible.
Oh, it's 22 minutes of the worst match I've seen.
The
in
fact
a long
that
time.
it's 22 minutes alone is difficult.
And Sid doesn't even break his legs, so it's not even funny.
Although, do you believe the rumor that he evacuated himself?
Something happened because he's really bad in this match.
So, I mean, there's a couple of things to say about this match. Firstly, it was kind of doomed from the start because this went on after WrestleMania 13, Bret and Austin. One of the best matches ever. Like,
for sure.
Like, imagine watching that match. You're Undertaker, and you've just watched Bret and Austin do that, and then you're like, oh God, I gotta go out here and wrestle Sid in the main event.
People are into it though. To be fair, they really want to take her to win.
People back then loved the Sid character, even though he was largely terrible. So the couple of things, like the actual before the bell, the build, everything is class. Undertaker's entrance is awesome.
Yeah.
Sid's entrance is awesome. I kind of forgot how great that psychotic breakdown music that Sid had. I kind of forgot how great it was. The other thing is there's a great table spot in this, and it's when they still had the old tables, and I think this changes next year, but they were like legit solid wooden tables, so they didn't break in the way like the announcer's table does now, or like even the tables that they get under the ring. They're more like the Japanese tables. It's a legitimate table.
Yeah.
So there's a really cool spot with it where Undertaker gets slammed onto it, and it doesn't break. It kind of bounces and tilts over. And it's actually not next week because we're doing the second part of the streak, but whenever we get back into the In Your House arc, our next one is Mind Games, and there's an amazing spot where Foley gets thrown through one of these tables, and the table structure is so strong that he goes through it, like his head goes through it, but only the wood breaks. The actual struts of the table don't break, so he forms like a hole in the middle of the table.
But that's why we wanted to cover the In Your House in the first place, because it is the transition point
exactly
of the Attitude Era, and this is like smack bang in the middle of it too.
This is, yeah. So it was nice to see that table spot. But apart from that, the other thing, this is the first time I've seen Taker pull out a chokeslam so far in the streak.
No, he did it on Nash.
Did he do the chokeslam on Nash?
That's how he won.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, okay, right. I don't know why I had that down in my notes.
That's okay.
It stuck out to me for some reason. But But yeah, apart from those few notes, this is every bit as bad as Dara says it is. Do you know what? I actually kind of hope that Sid did poop his pants, because at least then there'd be a reason.
Well, the reason is the Psycho Sid. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
he is genuinely one of the worst wrestlers.
It
of all
was
time.
unfair to put him in a 22-minute match. Like, Psycho Sid's very, very Goldberg. Stick him out there for 6 minutes and he's awesome.
Yeah, anything more than that, it's.
It's not. No. It's very strange that they put the belt on him as well.
But they had to. I mean, they were really, really struggling for top talent. At that point,
they'd previously fired him, and then they'd brought him back in as it was supposed to be kind of a one-off, because, like you said, they were struggling and they just needed people, and they kind of liked what he did, and he just sort of stuck around, kind of with half a contract, and then like within a year the title was on him. So, he say what you will about his matches, but he got himself paid.
The next match is much more beloved by people. It would be the first appearance of Kane at WrestleMania, first appearance of more modern Undertaker. So Undertaker had obviously changed gimmick, and had the introduction.
He's an ice cream man. He's an ice cream man now.
So he changed his gimmick, and he's obviously, we're in the Attitude Era. It's Rock Austin, main event of WrestleMania 16. Oh, sorry, WrestleMania 14. And it's 1998 in Boston, Massachusetts. The match itself is quite good. I do think their match they have later on, it does actually top it in many ways. But this is a very, very story-driven match. It's 17 minutes of pure story. And look, that's not a bad thing. It's I will be honest with you though, the best thing about this match is the video package, the I will not fight you thing. And this would set up this is what's frustrating about this WrestleMania and WrestleMania in 1999. A lot of the matches were literally story driven. They were filler to get to more story, rather than
there was
blow
never
off.
a payoff.
No, there wasn't, and this is like a case in point in it, as in like there's some good points in it, but the video package really is what you watch this for. And like we have an Inferno match later on in the year, and you're like, why didn't you do the Inferno match at WrestleMania?
WrestleMania,
Which would have made more sense. But it's Russo booking 100%.
Like you say, the match itself is fine. It's decent, like compared to what we've seen.
Oh yeah, so much better.
It's on the better end.
Yeah.
But if you went to this WrestleMania live, you got your money's worth in the entrances alone.
Yes, you did.
Like,
and the video package beforehand.
The video package
phenomenal.
is incredible.
Phenomenal. And
then we go straight into I thought who was the famous baseball guy they had in?
Somewhere.
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. Yeah.
So he comes out to introduce them, and I hate when non-wrestling people come out to do it because they never know their names. They're all like, "Oh yeah, coming out now is Bert, the Hitman Hart."
To be fair though, the Pete Rose thing would pay off where he'd get Tombstone like 4 years in a row.
Paid off amazingly. But so this kicks off with Kane's unbelievable entrance. Like,
yes,
the Undertaker's entrance was already difficult to top. Like, that must have been so daunting. But Kane's entrance is so atmospheric. Like
hellfire and brimstone.
Literally puts him over as this just burnt, mutilated monster. And then the Undertaker bloody one-ups him. This is the first time we see him come out with, like, the big long entourage of the druids with the torches. And in the middle of all that, justifying, as you say, Pete Rose being there, Kane hits him with a tombstone that looks like it shortens his vertebrae by about 3 inches. Like, junks this guy on his head. The match, as we said, is good. There's an awesome table dive.
There is phenomenal table dive. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Kane's outside the ring. Undertaker hits the rope. Does that, that huge dive he only does at WrestleMania over the top rope, and Kane kind of steps aside, and he just explodes through the commentators' table.
It's just a shame because that dive would happen in the Inferno match, which should have been at WrestleMania.
Should have been at Mania. And
it's very annoying. It's actually very frustrating.
They've made the leap from the previous match, from the Sid match. Now they have the big kind of boxy commentators tables that
that breaks,
explode when they're hitting. So this is like great. Like this is for me upper end. Like even though we'll get better matches, this is the kind of upper end of the Undertaker streak for me.
Absolutely, no, I agree. It's just frustrating that they'd have better matches this year.
Guys, we got to save the Inferno match for a random B pay-per-view in Poughkeepsie.
That's what happens, and it's Headlong McDoodle versus Austin.
I don't know why I keep
reasons.
ragging on Poughkeepsie. I'm sure the people, if there's any listeners from Poughkeepsie, I'm sure your town is lovely. I'm sure it's full of lovely people. But for whatever reason, I always associate it with like old WWF matches when the business was not good.
Well, speaking of not good, we have a truly awful match.
Oh.
And I feel bad because it has my boy in it. It has my legally distinct Bookly in it. Poor Big Boss Man. Poor Big Boss Man. So WrestleMania, WrestleMania 15. WrestleMania 15, 1999, the first Union Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. WrestleMania this year is going to be in Philadelphia. And hopefully it's better than this one. Hell in a Cell match. So the first Hell in a Cell match happened 2 years before. The famous one with McFoley will be the year before. It's the first time it's at WrestleMania. A lot of build around it. There was a heel versus heel because Bossman and Undertaker were both heels. Big Bossman was obviously fighting for Vince McMahon. And for some reason, this match is just bad. It's just bad.
I mean,
and it shouldn't be. I don't know why it's so bad. I really don't. Well, it's just terrible.
Okay, so I think there's a couple of reasons why this is bad. I mean, obviously, Bossman is not peak Bossman.
Careful now.
I'm with you on Bossman. I'm a big fan. Whenever I was wrestling, I used to use the Bossman Slam as a finisher. I thought it was
it's brilliant.
It's one of my favorite. I think it looks so smooth and so impactful. I always thought it was great. So I'm a big Bossman guy here. But I think it's a mixture of the two previous Hell in a Cells made such use of the structure. Like, and they're both classic, like the Michaels one and obviously the Mankind one. But they both made such use of the structure. They both were matches where they could like legitimately go, oh, like this has shortened careers. This has changed them as competitors. This match, apart from the ending, which we'll talk about separately because I legitimately love it. Yeah. But apart from the ending, this match could have just taken place in a ring.
It could have, yeah. There was nothing like, yeah, they both get color and stuff like that, but
yeah,
I think it's more. I think it's more just from like the nightstick rather than the actual cage.
Yeah, but he had the nightstick in every bloody match.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it could have just been a hardcore match.
It's kind of slow. It's kind of plodding.
It was Match in a Cell, the first appearance of Match in a Cell.
Yeah, I love that. It was Match in a Cell. That's brilliant. The other thing about it was that, you know, in the previous Hell in a Cell matches, you had Michaels falling off the side of the cage through the table. You had Foley getting thrown off the top and then getting slammed through it and then getting tombstoned in the thumbtacks. And then in this one, you had Michael Cole going, oh, this cage, I mean, like, you could catch your fingers in the edge of it. Like, oh, for God's sake, Michael.
But what's funny about this, right? So when you watch it on the playlist that I am going to refer to, because it's very interesting, they completely remove what happened at the end of it. They just do a hard cut.
Oh.
So look, we do have to end the radio show soon in the next couple of minutes, because we're going to go over to the podcast. So guys, look, we're going to leave you hanging there.
Nobody's going to believe us that we don't plan this show. Nobody is going to believe us.
So we're going to leave it there, guys. If you want to get the rest of this podcast, which is going to go through the rest of what happens at this WrestleMania, but then all the way to WrestleMania 19, go over to Nerd to Know Media and the WrestlingRewind.com, where all the shows are available for free. Also the True Penny channel, and we'll be back every week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. If this is your first time checking us out, thank you so much. Please go over, like the Facebook, follow us on Instagram. That's the best way to help us out. You can also go to our Patreon. Martin, what do the good people get if they support us on Patreon?
What don't you get if you support us on Patreon? If you weren't aware of what X-Pac shouting at the start of his entrance theme, then you owe us an X-Pac euro. If you're a bit strapped for cash, you can sign up for a Punk Penny, where you give us a penny every day until Punk returns, and then a penny every day until his inevitable implosion. But if you really want to impress your friends and family, if you really want to, get a date round to the house and you want to make sure things go well, if you want respect,
the ultimate talking piece,
if you need something that will define who you are, that people go, hey, that's the guy with the thing. A Rennet, which is tenor spelt backwards, will get you into the prestigious, exclusive, so exclusive nobody's in it, Rennet tier, where you'll get all the benefits of the other tiers, but you'll also get to give us your 5 legally distinct Buhali list, and we'll either discuss it on the show, or if you sound like a bit of crack, we might have you on the show to talk about it. But pride of place in your house, framed in gold, will be your handwritten letter from the Wrestling Rewind team, written backwards.
You have to provide your own gold framing, though. That's not included.
Yeah, that's a serving suggestion.
Exactly. But folks, yeah, if that sounds like something you want to do, and we highly encourage it, you can go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com, or even search on Patreon for Nerd to Know Media, and you'll find all the tiers there. And we'll be back next week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, but we're going to continue this run of the Undertaker streak over on the podcast. So we'll see you there after this
on the podcast. And if you don't, my Undertaker will see that you rest in peace.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media radio network.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Alright folks, welcome back. We're here on Nerd to Know Media, the WrestlingRewind.com, the True Penny channel, and anywhere else you are listening to this podcast. My name is Darrell O'Connor. Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, and we're talking about the first part of the Undertaker's undefeated streak this week, going from 1 to 11. Before the break, we left you hanging because we had just finished Undertaker's win over the Big Boss Man. I'm just about to talk about what happened after that match, which WWE has
joined us just in time for a lynching.
WWE has tried everything to remove this from its archives, but Martin, who was also joining us, as always, alluded to it there. Martin, what happened after this match?
I know it's controversial, and I know why WWE have removed it, because it's shockingly convincing.
It's graphic. It's probably one of the most graphic things they've ever done on TV.
Genuinely terrifying. Like, I remember seeing this as a kid and being like, well, there's no way he can fake that. He's dead.
He's dead.
They've hung him. And then Michael Cole comes out and he goes, all right, well, moving on, folks. And I was sitting there as a child going, well, you're a fucking psychopath. You're a cold-hearted maniac.
He just killed a man.
So what happens is the Undertaker hits Tombstone, Boss Man, 1, 2, 3, and then the Brood, or did he have a different name for them at this stage?
Warrior, what's it? Superstars of a Vampire Persuasion. No, seriously, that's what they call themselves.
Well,
the Alternative Lifestyle or something. It's something like that, yeah.
They, in a pretty awesome visual, kind of descend from the ceiling or descend from the rafters and land on top of the cell, and then they start kicking in the one of the panels of the cell, like really viciously tearing on it. It kind of reminds me of like some of the scenes from 30 Days of Night, you know, where the vampires are like scratching at walls and stuff to get at people, and they manage to like tear open a hole in the cell, and then they lower a noose down through it. Now, whatever, actually, maybe this explains why the match was so lifeless and so dull and plodding, because Boss Man was obviously wrestling this match with a very strong, very stiff harness in his back, like wearing it under his clothes. But they lower this noose down. Boss Man, Undertaker, puts it around the neck of the still prone Boss Man, like he's still laying down, and then he raises his arms, and the cell starts to raise. And you're sitting watching this going, oh, God, I wonder when all the referees are going to run in and cut the Boss Man down. Or, no, he's still, oh, God, he's up to his knees now. There's him on his feet. Now would be the time. No, that's clear air between his toes and the ground. And the Boss Man, in addition to the actual setup, whatever the harness is, the Boss Man sells this amazingly. His face goes bright red. He starts kicking his legs, and like there's like genuine panic in his eyes. And then he kind of goes limp, and he's just you're just left sitting there going, "Yeah, 8 years old. I just seen my first snuff film." It's just insane. I think, like looking back at it now, I think it's one of the coolest things they've ever done. But I also understand, particularly now in the PG era, you know, with all the shareholders and being sold to Netflix for $10 billion, why they've opted to erase this little bit. You know, it's in a pile out the back of Titan Towers with blackface Roddy Piper and all the Benoit matches.
You know what? Could be a cool match type.
The hanging.
The hanging match. No, to be fair, probably hard to do. It's kind of disturbing at the end. Again, like
not a lot of replay value.
No, but think about it. Like they didn't have an Inferno match, which is setting someone on fire.
Yeah, but it was always like, oh, and God, his shoes are on fire.
And a casket match. I mean, it makes sense. It is very extreme because it looks so real. Like I think what it is like there's this like level of disconnect where you're like, oh, okay, it's obviously not real. Watching a man get hung, I think, for example, right? So I used to work as an extra, and sometimes still do. So I was working on a TV show. It's on Amazon Prime, called The Frankenstein Chronicles, and we were there for a full day, like 18 hours, and we were shooting this couple of scenes. But the main scene we were shooting was a hanging scene. Martin, do you know how they hang people in the movies?
I think they just tell the body double or the stuntman that, you know, oh yeah, it's a fake rope, blah blah blah, and then they just hang them.
That's correct.
They just hang them.
That's actually that is 100% correct. The only way to actually hang somebody convincingly is to hang somebody convincingly. I watched Sean Bean hang there for 20 minutes, and it was very disturbing. And then I watched his body double hang there for 2 hours, and you know what's disturbing? It's so weird to see because you're like, whoa, you're actually hanging. So there's no real way to fake it. I don't know how he did it here, but Big Boss Man obviously did a great job. But look, obviously it's incredibly dangerous and incredibly risky. But look, it's one of the most iconic Undertaker moments that they could actually still use. And I was kind of joking about being a match type, but I don't know. I think if things had been a bit different, if Undertaker if this had happened a little bit earlier, if the Vince Russo hadn't went to WCW, man, there were Human Torch matches in WCW.
I know, but the thing with those is that, like, Fire, obviously, folks, you don't need us to tell you this, but Fire is very dangerous. Don't mess around with it.
Don't mess with Fire.
But it is still visually like a cool thing, because what you see is a fireball. You don't really, when someone's on fire, you don't really see a person. You know, you just kind of see a fireball or, you know, a huge tower of flame. With this, no, you very clearly saw all the details of a man gasping for breath and then dying in front of you. It was the only thing that was missing was the erection that you apparently get if you're hung. Like, that's and you know, defecation. Like, that's all that was missing. This was.
Look, all I'm saying is, it's like, I don't think the line was crossed here, because remember, they would crucify a bunch of people.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later. So I don't. That's what I'm trying to say. If things had have been a little bit different, I don't think we would have seen the last of this. I think this was like Russo's big idea to push the envelope. I mean, in ECW, they crucified Sandman on Easter.
Yeah, and it nearly put Kurt Angle out of the business forever.
Yeah, that's why Kurt Angle didn't go there, you know? So I think this was pushing the boat out a bit too much, but it's also like, okay, it's one of those visuals where you're like, damn, that's unlike anything that's ever
It's also
done before.
very of its time. Like, this is
Very of its time.
1999.
Very
Like,
of its time.
You know, 1999, any wild shit you could think of was going on television.
That's true. I mean, look, you'll never see this on WWE. Like, even though it happened, they're still not going to show it. It's not going to be in the video package. And it's a shame, because, like, some of Big Boss Man's biggest work, right? But here's another shame, right? And here's another kind of sad factoid. This would be Boss Man's second, well, it's a first of two Hell in a Cell matches in 1999. Do you know what the other one was?
99.
99.
Oh, let me think. So, King of the Ring was 98. Boss Man then. It wasn't, I don't know. Who is his next Hell in a Cell with?
Kennel from Hell match. Unforgiven, 1999.
No. Wait, was the Boss Man involved in that?
Yeah, it was Big Boss Man versus Al Snow in a Kennel from Hell match. He would also lose that match, and it would also be something that WWE would actively remove.
That is why I couldn't remember who's in the Kennel from Hell, but for some reason when I was watching this match, whenever Undertaker and Boss Man went outside the ring, I was like, oh, I'm getting really weird Kennel from Hell vibes here for some reason. So it was the Boss Man that was in it. That's why.
Yes.
And
it would also involve shenanigans with, like, the cage. Lessons weren't learned.
No.
Lessons weren't learned.
The other thing, like,
sorry, and what's funny about that is, right, during the Kenneth from Hell match, because I've seen that match a lot, for reasons, but the thing about it is, it's like, I've watched it so much, and they never actually refer to the fact that the Big Boss Man has already been in Hell in a Cell. They don't even mention it once.
Yeah, even by that stage,
by that stage, like, we're never.
Do you think they were backstage, like, watching it happen, like sitting at Gorilla watching it happen, and they were like, I think we did a little too good of a job here.
Maybe everybody except for Vince was probably like, oh, that's some good shit.
Everyone was like slightly horrified, going, oh, this is a little too real. And Vince there going, it's great shit. Look at that dumbass hanging there by his stupid neck.
You know what? Probably. That's probably what happened. And everybody else is like,
who says you can't have comedy in wrestling?
It's like, no, bury it. Bury it.
Send Michael Cole out there to move on as if nothing happened.
Oh my god. Okay. So we'd have a break then, because obviously Undertaker would be injured, and he would get pretty badly injured into the summer, and he would team with the Big Show, and he'd have a horrific tag team, and it wasn't very good. Then he'd just disappear. And as we said, he could have
tag team with the Big Show called.
Oh, what was it called? The Unholy Alliance.
Is that what it was?
That's what it's called.
They normally have some, like, whenever people tag with the Big Show, they normally give them some terrible pun name involving show. You know, the Jera Show and the Show Star. You know, they always try and work show into it. I don't know how you.
No. I'm looking here. The Big Show and the Undertaker's Unholy Alliance. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, it was so short-lived but dominant WWE Attitude Era tag team. Anyway,
I was about to say when they didn't care about tag team wrestling, but they actually did for a while have like an awesome tag team division.
yeah, but like, it was mainly to feud with X-Pac and Kane. That was the whole point of it.
There you go.
You know, so yeah, Undertaker would be in that until he just disappeared one day, and he would stay disappeared until he would come back during an Iron Man match with Triple H and The Rock in the middle of 2000. But we're getting ahead of ourselves there. So when WrestleMania showed up, Undertaker wasn't mentioned, wasn't brought up, and it was weird. I think it's the only WrestleMania since Taker debuted where he was not mentioned once. Not mentioned once. Which is weird. Very weird.
In all of 2000.
No, yeah, he just wasn't a factor. I mean, it was Rock and Austin. It was Rock and Triple H who carried the entire company at that point. Like legitimately. Like I wasn't Austin. Austin was injured as well. So it's a very, very interesting time period. We will look at 2000 actually. 2000, the pay-per-views tell a very interesting story, which I want to actually get into at some point. Okay, so later on, so obviously it's gone. 2001. Just before so WCW collapsed, ECW collapsed, just before the invasion, we had the greatest WrestleMania of all time, the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time, WrestleMania X7, which features the first appearance, which WWE has also removed from history because they don't count it, which is a horrible shame, but it's funny because this match started because Kane was going to throw Stephanie off the top of some stairs.
Right. And in the, I think, did we maybe cover this when we did that wee Raw?
Yes, we did.
Because he stands there for like, you're like, oh my God, Kane must have the strongest arms in the world because they keep cutting back and forth, and he's been holding Stephanie over the edge of that balcony for about 20 minutes now.
Yeah, look, and that's it. But that's what this actual classic was built on. The only time they ever refer to this specific match is when Triple H, because obviously Motorhead show up and play a horrific version of Triple H's theme music because Lemmy's drunk and doesn't remember the words. So he'd do it better.
It's only like 4 words in it.
Yeah, but he doesn't remember them. If you're listening to it, it's
the game is the game. And all about the game.
I think Motorhead would show up. I think 2 WrestleManias later and it'll be a little bit better. But this one, yeah, this was pretty bad. But yeah, so look, the match itself is 19 minutes. It gets lost in, as I said, the best wrestling pay-per-view of all time, the best WrestleMania of all time. Just one of those, the capstones of the Attitude Era, whatever you want to say about X7, that hasn't been said or will be said in the future. It is a perfect match on that card. But the question I have for you, Martin, is, given that it's so buried, and I mean that in not in like, oh, they buried him. It was more like it's on this massive card, and it really didn't have any reason to be there. It's just kind of there. Did that impact the rewatchability of this match?
No, I quite enjoyed this. Like I get that X7 was this huge card, but I thought it kind of earned its place on it. It's not like you say one of the matches when someone says, oh, WrestleMania 17 that you think of. But I thought it earned its place. It had 2 big stars. They put on like a decent match. Like if I was at WrestleMania X7 and the next match up is Undertaker versus Triple H, like I'm not going to the bathroom. You know, it's not the Disco Inferno match. Like it's you know. So I like, now there was a couple issues I had with it. Like Mike Chioda gets knocked down, and I get that wrestlers are made of stone because they can get, you know, dunked on their head 16 times and then kick out, and referees are made of Fabergé eggs because if you cough in their direction, they get knocked down. But Mike Chioda does the longest passed out referee spot I've ever seen in this match. He's down for, it feels like he's down for the bulk of the match. Like, so they originally have the brawl in the ring. I think he gets knocked into and he falls down, and then he goes to do a count, and for whatever reason, Taker gets pissed off and drops an elbow on him. And then the whole match goes on. Him and Taker wrestle. Taker and Triple H wrestle. They go outside the ring. They batter around in the crowd. They get up in the this lighting rig area, and they get fired off it and jump off it and batter through the crowd again, and then batter their way back down to the ring. And then they get in the ring, and then the Taker goes for hits a tombstone or whatever and goes for a pin. And he looks around, and Kyoto is still unconscious in the corner of the ring. So I found that a little bit off-putting. I was like, while this pretty decent match was unfolding, I kept trying to see if I could see out like the corner of one of the angles. It's like, is Kyoto back there having a fag or what? What's he at? But no, I think it's a very fair point you make that it's one of the biggest shows ever, that it didn't have, the kind of build of, Rock Austin or anything like that.
And a no build.
Well, I mean, some wrestling matches, I think it's fine just to have. Like, I liked that Triple H is coming out going, I've beaten everybody, I'm the best there is, and then a guy who he has never had a win over comes out and goes, you haven't beaten me. For me, in a simulated combat sport, that's enough.
That's fair.
I don't necessarily need more than that.
That's fair. It's just kind of funny that like they'd have two matches later and completely ignore the fact that they actually wrestled like 10 years beforehand in a really good match. But the next match is WrestleMania X8, which gets overlooked. I think WrestleMania X8 as a pay-per-view is very weird. One I want to cover as well because it's a very, very strange show. It's still a strange show.
This match, I would say, more so in terms of the Undertaker streak. I would say this match is overlooked because WrestleMania
really
X7 is a huge show and a huge card, but it's huge because of everything that's happening, because of the matches, because of what's going on in the industry at the time and all that. WrestleMania X8 is a one-match show. It's Rock Hogan, and that's it. And I think that's why
Hold on a second.
Gets overlooked.
Hold on a second. I can't let that go.
Okay, and Scott Hall's awesome.
No. You're still missing the best match on the whole card.
Hold on. Is this going to be like? Is this going to be like, I don't know, Heidenreich or something?
Maven versus Goldust for the hardcore title. It is. Love that match with the golden trash cans. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, I bet you the two of them had hell for leather at each other as well.
I'm just saying. That's why I watch that show.
Galore.
You what?
2002, so headshots galore.
That's why I go back and watch that pay-per-view for Maven and Goldust. No other reason. Okay, yeah, but look, this match itself, it's not the longest one in the world. It's about 19 minutes. Ric Flair's bleeding everywhere. On the little playlist, it's in black and white. There's a whole section that's in black and white because there's so much blood in these matches. Arn Anderson runs out, gets battered, doesn't do anything. Tombstone and Taker.
Oh, he does. I'll tell you what, though. When Arn Anderson comes out, he drops Taker with the definitive picture-perfect version of a spine buster.
Oh, absolutely. But gets absolutely killed.
Oh, yeah, he gets murdered there. Like, Undertaker punches him like twice, and then he's pissing blood everywhere.
What's mad is like Undertaker at this point, while he was scary as the dead man, right? The American Badass, he just beats the shit out of people. That's just what he does. He just batters people. Yeah. That's his gimmick. He's going to come out and he's going to kill you.
Personality, I think, that's what he wanted. Like, if he didn't have the dead man gimmick, because I think when he was originally offered it, he was like, this is goofy as shit, but I need a job. And obviously, he grew into it, and he embodied it. And
He's legitimately scary as like the American Badass.
Yeah, I think the reason a lot of people don't like it is just because they loved the Dead Man character so much that this was such a jarring departure from that, and also the Limp Bizkit music didn't help.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was using. Was he using? No, I think he was using Dead Man Walking against Ric Flair at this point.
Man Walk.
Yeah, that's
this was, look, again, it's not going to be in anybody's top 5, but I thought this was surprisingly decent, particularly for 52, 53-year-old Flair at this stage.
Yeah.
Look, it's largely brawling.
A lot of brawling.
It's story driven. It's really kind of emotionally driven, in terms of it's all about respect and Flair's kind of last years in the business.
And it was the first
allegedly 20 odd years ago.
And it was the first time that the streak was acknowledged as well. So you can see a lot of signs talking about the streak, which is very interesting really when you think about it.
Yeah, you had the streak in there, like you say, everybody just getting juice, like
everybody.
I think they kind of knew that this is not going to be a classic, so we're going to pull out all the stops, like all the kind of smoke and mirrors that we can. And you know what? It worked. The 20 minutes of this flew by for me a lot quicker than the 20 minutes of the Sid match, a lot quicker than the 7 minutes of the Giant Gonzalez match. I thought this was a pleasant surprise. And
so
if we had ended the podcast here,
it would have been a much better
more auspicious note to leave the Undertaker hanging on for part 1 of our streak.
But unfortunately, we have to talk about one Nathan Jones. So I went back and again, I'm having a look at this playlist as well, just as we're kind of going through, and it opens with Nathan Jones doing what's supposed to be a reverse tourniquet kick or spinning hook kick. Now, here's the thing. He kicks so badly that his foot sticks up fully. So if he actually connected, his foot would snap into 3 places. So he cannot actually do a kick, which is funny. I just noticed that. Nathan Jones, you're very, very bad. Very
bad. Here,
bad wrestler.
You're a very bad wrestler, Nathan Jones. So here, one of the, for anyone who doesn't know, this was supposed to be a tag team match.
It was.
So it's a handicap match between A-Train and The Big Show versus The Undertaker. It was supposed to be a tag team match with The Undertaker and the aforementioned Nathan Jones. Now, WWE, after, I don't know why they put him in this position in the first place, but after seeing him wrestle a few times, WWE decided, oh my God, he's so terrible, we can't put him in front of a live audience in WrestleMania.
But they still do. But
here's my point. How bad do you have to be? Think of all the terrible matches and the terrible wrestlers that WWE have put on television. How bad do you have to be for Vince McMahon to go, this is where I draw the line. This far, and no farther. Like,
he can barely do a big boot.
Yeah, so he comes, not to jump ahead, but yeah, he comes running out towards the end of the match and does the most awkward looking big boot just you've ever seen. And this guy's supposed to be like, what is he, like a legitimate UFC guy or what?
Well, he's not kicking like that. No, he's not. There's no way.
That's why he's not in the UFC anymore.
There's no way. I mean, kicks like a white belt.
Yeah.
I've seen kids that kick better than that. Like,
and then he got kicked out of WWF for not being able to pretend to fight.
Oh my God, he's so bad. But the funny thing about it is, it's like the match itself, like A-Train was always a safe pair of hands, right? And the same with the Big Show. Like it was what it was. The Big Show, you knew what you were getting, and A-Train, you knew what you were getting. It's such an underwhelming. Like even if I had to have Nathan Jones in there, it's such an underwhelming match. It's such an oh God, I can't wait to see. Oh no, I'm just gonna have a look who's on the card. Oh, I can't wait to see Michaels and Jericho. I can't wait to see Triple H and Booker T, Hogan and McMahon, Rock and Austin, Nathan Jones teaming with The Undertaker to defeat Big Show and A-Train. What? That doesn't even make sense.
I thought one thing that really bugged me with this as well was they really threw Big Show and A-Train under the bus here. Like, it's one thing to go up against Taker and lose, especially at WrestleMania. That's fine. But two huge guys like the Big Show and I keep going to call him Prince Albert, but or what was his other name?
Lord Tensai.
Tensai.
Lord Tensai.
Like, these two guys, firstly, Big Show's a former champion and he's enormous. Prince Albert was like, I loved him. I actually think he's on my bucket list.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
His matches were class. And one of them going up against The Undertaker and losing, 100%. I'm all up for Undertaker versus Big Show or Undertaker versus A-Train or whatever name he's got this week match. Well up for that. But I thought to have the two of them in there in a handicap match and lose, it's not a word I throw around very often because people on Twitter use it for everything. But it felt a wee bit like a burial. Okay,
so Nathan Jones participated in a mixed martial arts match at Pride.
Oh, I participated in a.
No, this is what I'm saying. You have a better MMA record than he does.
Here, we need to compile a list of pro wrestlers that I have a better MMA record than.
No, legitimately. Your record is 1-0, right? He's 0-1.
This.
No, you have 1-0. He has 0-1.
Hold on, I'm starting the list now. So we have Nathan Jones. we have CM Punk.
Well, CM Punk has 1-1. To be fair.
1-1. Did he was the one not stripped of him?
No, it was stripped the other way.
Yeah. So he lost, but they gave it to him because your man.
Yeah, so it's 1-1.
Yeah, that doesn't count. No, that doesn't count. That's worse than the Undertaker winning by disqualification.
Default.
Technicality. We got Nathan Jones. We got CM Punk. I got to look into this. Got to see if Tank Abbott had any like actual wins or. I'm pretty sure Brock Lesnar was quite good, so we probably won't put him down.
And Ken Shamrock as well, and same as
Ken Shamrock. I wouldn't even now, even years later and thousands of miles away, I wouldn't even jokingly dare to write his name down on that list.
Or Steve Blackman. He will find it.
For fear there'd be a knock at the door.
That's a legit fear.
Mr. Shamrock, just know that you do not hear a pen scribbling. Sir.
Who else? Oh my god, yeah. So there you go. Nathan Jones lasted 2 minutes and then got caught in an arm lock. So that explains why his kicks are so bad. Genuinely.
There you go.
I knew when I was watching those kicks, I'm like, there's absolutely no way that man can throw a kick. And he can't.
Your man yanked his arm so hard it broke his leg.
So yeah, but do you know what? Where he did make his debut in wrestling?
Where?
World Wrestling All Stars.
What?
WWA.
The peak.
The peak. But he is retired.
Did he have any matches in WWF apart from this?
Let's see.
Like, I'm interested to know.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No.
I'm interested to know, like, how did he get into a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker without having any matches?
Wait, no, he had one. He was in the Survivor Series team, apparently, I think. Let's see.
Well, sure. You could stick me in a Survivor Series team.
See, I wasn't watching wrestling at this point, so I do need to catch up on 2003. Oh, no. He was supposed to be, but they removed him.
So I just don't understand how they let it get to this stage.
Team Lesnar, there was. Yeah, he was.
He
was with Brock Lesnar. So Brock Lesnar, Big Show, Matt Morgan, Nathan Jones, and A-Train. So he was there, but I don't think he was in the ring for very long.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious how they let it get so advanced that it got to WrestleMania. Like at no stage did
But he was
anyone
there
say,
for only a year. He was there for only a year, apparently. We need to go back and look at 2003
Yeah, but
because I
in
wasn't
a-
watching wrestling at this point, so
in
I
a
need to go back and
year,
watch it.
in a year, did nobody say, we should probably see if this guy can wrestle?
But the thing about it is, like, he has this massive size, and he was a legitimate strongman. So he did win the strongman twice, and he did have that one match in MMA. So I mean, Vince does love big, strong men. He was supposed to be 7 foot tall.
He does. Do you know who I was thinking of earlier when I said, like, how bad do you have to be when you think of all the wrestlers they've put out there? Like, how bad do you have to be for Vince to go, oh no, this is, even for me, this is too bad. One of the guys Vince, like, put in, like, really high profile matches for a while was, I don't know if you remember a wrestler called Nails.
I remember Nails, yeah.
Yeah, Nails, he came out in his orange jumpsuit. Like, are you escaped, or when you left prison after serving your sentence, did you just bring that with you? Do you miss prison? What is
Miss prison?
So what's the deal here? Like, are they your pajamas? But he would wear this prison jumpsuit and he'd come out to the ring, and I'm not exaggerating. Go back and watch any of his matches. The only move he knows how to do is a choke. And not a choke hold, literally just an illegal hand on the neck. 1, 2, 3, 4 break choke. So he would have these plodding matches where he would choke people and the ref would break it up, and then he'd shout at the ref, and then he'd make a face to the crowd, and then he'd go back and choke your man, and you'd be sitting watching it going, oh my god, this is the longest 4 minutes of my life. This is never going to end.
So
Vince put that guy in repeated high-profile pay-per-view matches, but took one look at Nathan Jones.
Well,
said,
okay.
No.
So here's some accomplishments that Nathan Jones has, right? You ready?
Go for it.
So, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated in 2003 named him the 137 top 500 wrestlers.
How?
I don't know.
How?
He did win the NWA Intercontinental Tag Team Championship one time in 0-1 with Heidenreich.
I kind of want to see that.
He is a WWA World Heavyweight Champion
What?
for 5 days, and then he was defeated by Scott Steiner.
They tainted the legacy of the Road Dogs belt
The Road Dogs belt.
by giving it to Nathan Jones. How dare they?
Remember, he is Australian, and they did kind of build that promotion around him, so that's why. But he was so bad, Scott Steiner were like, nope, and took it off
Scott
him.
Steiner.
Yeah.
Scott Steiner was like, I can't work.
So here's two that I think you will probably agree with. The Wrestling Observer newsletter gave him 2 accomplishments in 2003.
Come on, Dave. Don't let me down.
Most embarrassing wrestler
Fine. Yeah.
and worst wrestler.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I think the thing with PWI is that it's
oh my God, sorry. He's been in loads of films.
Oh.
He's in loads of films. He's in Troy. He's in Fearless the Condemned.
I
Conan
take
the
it he's not the
Barbarian.
star of them.
No, he's in Mad Max, Fury Road, The Scorpion King, Book of Souls for some reason, Hobbs and Shaw, the new Mortal Kombat. I mean, jokes on us. He's doing pretty well for himself.
Is he in every one of these films, and his scene is getting his foot broken doing a kick?
So in Troy, he's in the bit where Achilles stabs him in the neck in like a minute.
No,
That's him, yeah.
not that awesome. Bring me your champion.
Yes, that's exactly this. He's the champion.
No,
Yep.
Dara. Blowing my mind here.
It's true. That's who he's playing.
To be fair, all he had to do was stand there
And get stabbed in the neck.
and get stabbed in day. But Vince didn't even think I'm capable of that.
So there you go. Look, folks, you can't say you don't learn anything on this show because
It's a wonder Vince didn't book the Boss Man hanging segment again. It's like, Nathan, can you play dead? Can you just go limp and close your eyes?
Oh god, when I was looking up Nathan Jones here, I was kind of afraid to just be like deceased, but like no, he's still alive. He's still alive. He's 54 at the moment, so fair play to him. It says his background here is MMA, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. That's a lie.
That's like me saying my background is MMA.
You have a better record than he does.
I'm putting that on my CV then.
That's what I'm saying. It's not just a bit I say on the show. It's true, Martin.
Yeah, bachelor's degree, 20 years experience in journalism, undefeated MMA.
Want to know? And then quotation, and then brackets. Better than Nathan Jones.
Better than Nathan Jones. Better than CM Punk. Technicalities don't count.
Technicalities don't count.
Potentially better than Tank Abbott. Haven't checked. Probably not better than Brock Lesnar.
Careful, Tank Abbott brings a knife to the ring.
I could be like, probably not better than Brock Lesnar, but have never shat on a person.
So yeah, look. So that's the Undertaker's streak. Unfortunately, this segment does kind of end on a very.
The streak deserves better.
It did. I mean, I can't even believe it's in this box set here, where it's has all these names, and it's just like the Big Show and A-Train. Thankfully, Nathan Jones' name isn't emblazoned on this, because that would be horrendous. I'm just shocked that that even happened. That they all sat around and you know what, WCW's gone down. You know what we could do? We could get Sting in. Why not? Spend big. No. Nathan Jones. That's the real winner. That's who we need.
Star of screen and combat sports. It's a wonder, given his one MMA match that he now has on his CV, that he doesn't have pro wrestler down on his CV. WrestleMania starring superstar. Something like that. Look,
you have to hand it to him. At least he got to a WrestleMania. He's still there.
I haven't even seen one live, so yeah, he's got that on me.
He does. Look, I mean, fair play to him. God loves a trier, and he made something work. Not much. It's probably one of the worst matches I've ever seen. And Jesus, listen, folks, don't kick like he does. You'll hurt yourself real bad. Kick like X-Pac, who also happens to say make some noise in his intro. It's funny, right? So I was playing WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, the new WWE game, and you have a section called My Rise, and you can make your own, and then My Faction, and you can make your own faction, and I called my faction Make Some Noise. So
nice.
There you go. That's just so people know what X-Pac is saying. But if you didn't know that, folks, guess what? You owe us an X-Pac Euro.
If that's new information to you, I'm afraid to say you owe us an X-Pac Euro.
So
or
Martin,
100 cents.
100 cents. Well, 100 pennies, an X-Pac penny. Oh, sorry, a CM Punk penny.
A punk penny. Yeah.
Can we call him a punker? A punker penny?
Punker. Dude, I'm trying to find some way of working in a punk and the old punt.
A punk punt?
A punk punt. Yeah, and we will literally only accept punts.
I have one here. I have one right here.
Dig back down the back of your granny's couch, look in the back of old cars, do what you have to do, but we will only accept it in punt. Apparently there's still out there circulating in people's jars.
Yeah, I literally have one right in front of me.
Yeah. Oh, here, I tell you what, whatever about the economics of the euro, the big old punt, it just feels like money, doesn't it?
Feels like money. Yeah, folks, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, the punt was the Irish currency. And genuinely, I wish we still had it, because it feels like money.
If only because of if only because of the look and feel of it. You could wing a euro with someone, and even in high wind heading in their direction, they probably wouldn't notice it. But if you winged a punt at someone in high wind, you could take a head off.
Well, look, I'll put it this way: when you had a punt, you're like, oh, I can actually buy stuff here. When you had the euro, you're like, well,
this will keep my pocket warm. You're looking at a punt, you're going, Jesus, that's a can of Lilt and 2 bags of meanies and a
That's it. You were
ticket.
you were wealthy. You had €20. Like, that's a mortgage. You know.
Yeah. So apparently, like, even though they got rid of the punt, oh God, it must be 20 years ago now. There's still something like, I don't know, 7 million punt floating around the country, and like I say, in jars and down the backs of couches and stuff like that. And we want them, folks. We want those punts.
A punk punt.
So go out there and get us a punk punt.
Well, look, folks, again, if you want to do that, you can go to nerdtoknowmedia.com. The links are all there. The wrestlingrewind.com is literally a link tree, so all the links are there. You can go and get all the shows for free. Our Patreon is there. Help keep the show going. We're going to do it anyway, but get involved. Give us some feedback. If you do the Reddit tier as well, you can give us your bookie list. You can come on the show. It'll be a good time. We'll also be reading out all the Patreon supporters that help us out. So there's a lot to do, and we're going to work through it. Next week, of course, is the week before I head off to WrestleMania. So I don't know what we're doing at WrestleMania. We haven't talked about it yet internally. We might do a show. We might not.
We'll probably cover WrestleMania.
Yeah, I just don't know when. That's the thing. I have no idea when. It could be there. I'll talk to Dave. We're trying to get a 3-man boot going because, why not? But yeah, next week we're going to finish off this Undertaker arc, and then we will post something up on the social media about what's happening. But Martin, is there anything you want to say before we finish up this first part of the Undertaker's WrestleMania collection?
Don't forget to tune in next week to part 2 for the second half of my Undertaker's illustrious, glorious streak.
You've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake, and I can't allow you to think you can just walk away. So
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.